Do you want to learn how to run 5-day challenges to boost your appointment bookings into your practice? Stay tuned. The next question that pops into my mind is, as healthcare practitioners, we typically don't like the idea of selling something. Like, we tend to want to give away all the information that we can, and then at the very end we're like, thanks, I hope you enjoyed this, have a great day, and we forget the whole purpose of why we're doing it, which is to actually get people into our offices and become clients or patients of ours. So I wanted you to just touch on the mindset of not just running a free challenge for the sake of doing busy work. Like, there's actually a reason why we're running this challenge. We are going to be prepping them and warming them up to an offer at the end, whatever that offer is. And where have you seen people kind of do it the right way versus doing it the wrong way?
Totally. So one of the things that I always tell people is like, look, especially as a healthcare practitioner, you have a belief in what you offer. You know that you can help people. And we tend to make this incorrect assumption, and I'm just going to be really bold and say it, that information is the answer for people. Mm-hmm. And that if we just give them enough information and give them enough education, that something's going to change. But what most of us know at a very core level, especially in this space, is that action is what creates the change, not education, right? Mm-hmm. Getting people in the door, getting them into a regimented routine is what actually leads to these lasting changes. And so I tell people, like, look, if you're not willing to sell, you have to be saying, are you willing to do your audience the disservice of not helping them? Right? Because when we really believe in our product, like, look, at the end of the day, we're a business, right? Mm-hmm. You're a business, I'm a business. When we do things, we're motivated because we want to grow our business. And we have to keep that in mind. But being a business doesn't mean that you can't be thoughtful. It doesn't mean that you can't be helpful. It doesn't mean that you can't serve your audience. And, if you get 100 people in a challenge, you're not going to end up with 100 new clients, mm-hmm. right? Some people are going to take the information and that's going to be enough for them. Other people are going to want to take it to the next level. And you're really, I'll say it again, you're doing them a disservice if you don't give them the opportunity to continue working with you, because some people are going to absolutely love what you have to offer. And if you forget to give them or choose not to give them the opportunity to continue working together, then you're doing just a huge mm-hmm. disservice to both of you. And the other thing I like to tell people when it comes to like a sales mindset is, look, you're not, I have a mentor who likes to say, when it comes to sales, it's something you can't control. You can't put a gun to somebody's head and say, you're going to buy, yeah. right? You're just putting the offer out there and the right people are coming forward to say, this is for me. Mm-hmm. So don't withhold that because you think, well, what if people say no? Or what if people aren't interested? Or what if people think I'm too salesy? Well, those people won't buy, mm-hmm. right? But what about the people who are really interested? What about the people who want more? What about the people who are waiting for the next step? So you really need to think of it not just as selling your product, but as serving your audience. And by making that minor shift to the way you show up, it'll make a massive difference. Now, the other thing is, like, I alluded to this, but like, you are a business. And if you like what you do and you want to stay in business, you have to generate clients. You have to get people into the door. And so just keep that in mind that yes, we want to help. Yes, we want to serve, but you can't serve if your doors aren't open. Mm-hmm. And so just keep that in mind that as a business, you have to be open and willing to do the work to sell.
And the other thing that's coming to my mind just while we're on this topic is, and I wanted to ask you this question, there's that buying cycle where somebody may checkpoint with you once, go through your challenge once. They're just not ready to make those changes yet, but they're just going to simmer on it, come back to you again. So this is coming into the idea of the first time you do something, it may be a massive win, it might be an epic failure, or somewhere in the middle, but it's so important to remember that you're just not capturing those people at that particular time when they're ready to buy. So I just wondered if in your history, how many times have you had people go through a challenge with you and then they've gone through maybe 3 or 4 before they actually convert into a paying customer versus just cold off the hop and then they buy?
The majority of what we see tends to be people who have experienced us in some way, shape, or form before tend to be buyers. Now, we do marketing. We absolutely attract cold audience. We convert cold audiences, but it's easiest and most effective to convert a warm audience. And what really, really trips people up is they're like, well, I don't have a warm audience, right? Or I'm just getting started, or everybody's cold to me the first time around. And what I tell people is like, yeah, that's how you start, right? So if you can get 100 people in a challenge today, they are the 100 people that are going to be interested in your product tomorrow. So you really have to be keeping in mind the long game. Like it's funny, maybe not funny, but it's interesting how often somebody comes to us and is like, I've been following you for a year and now I'm interested in your product. Or I just got a really high level one-on-one client. In the work that I do, we do mostly one-to-many, but I take a handful of one-on-one clients. And they were like, well, I listened to you on this podcast. I implemented everything you had. I got results. And now I'm ready to work with you. But that person became a really high level client without ever investing anything else. But they were warm to me. They knew about my services. They knew about my products. And they were excited to work together because they were familiar with all of my content. Not because I ran a Facebook ad and found them cold, right? So it's not to say that that strategy doesn't work, and it's absolutely something we recommend, but just remember that today's, looky-loo is tomorrow's purchaser. And so you have to be thinking about the long game, right? It's not a one and done system. The most successful people we see in our course are students who run challenge after challenge after challenge and continue to scale and grow.
And how often would people repeat the exact same challenge? Because this is a topic we're going to go into later, but the first thought we have is, well, I can't run the same challenge again. People have already seen it. They've already done it. I have to create something totally brand spanking new, create everything all over again, and waste so much time. So what are you seeing about that recycling of the challenge?
Yeah, you can. So here's what I tell people. Sometimes we get really caught up in this mindset of like you said, like I need to create new content, or it has to be new. It has to be fresh. And the reality is you can 100% run the same challenge again as long as you can get new people in the door, because it's not old to the new people. And to the old people that say, well, I've seen this before, the interested people that are like, oh, maybe it didn't work last time, they're going to sign up again and try again. Those new buyers might want to go through that same process again, right? What we tend to see is that when you start a challenge on day one, you've got this massive participation, and then it starts to taper off, and that's normal. And we can talk about that, but it's normal to see a decline in participation. So, maybe you started with 80% participation and by day 5, you're down to 20%. Well, what about that other 80% that didn't make it to day 5? They want the opportunity to start over. There's a psychology to the fact that we want to start the diet on Monday, right? Yeah. A lot of people want to start over. They want to try again. They want to give it another shot. So don't get so caught up in thinking I need to do something new. We ran the same challenge for two years, and people still rave about it and love it, and we're thinking about running it again because it works and it converts. And so that's what I just can't stress is if it's working and converting, don't go reinvent the wheel. Optimize what you have, attract new people into the fold, and continue to engage with your warm audience. Yes, all of those things. I hope you guys replay a lot of what we've been talking about already, because it needs to be cemented into your brain that entrepreneurship and running a business does not need to be complicated. It does not need to be 100 hours of labor. Often that just ends up being busy work, and it's just unnecessary busy work. Before we jump into talking about just kind of streamlining your business, which we will, and definitely talking about how the participation levels can change, if somebody just wanted to, say they're like, yes, I know I need to do a challenge. I know I want to do a challenge. What is kind of the basic framework that somebody could start to do? Yeah, so the basic framework of a challenge is 5 days of content with email marketing, a Facebook live stream, and a Facebook group. Okay, so every day you want to send people some sort of mini assignment or action step or education that they can use. And then you want to supplement that with a daily live stream on Facebook Live. And then you want to drive them into a private Facebook group where they can act, engage, take action, and share that they're getting results with what you've been teaching them. So those are like really the key elements that you need to have a challenge. Now, what I would argue is even more important than getting the structure right or the days right or the emails right is getting the promise right. And inside my program, we really talk about the value of having a promise. And a lot of people want to do like, the 5-day health challenge or the 5-day weight loss challenge. And while that's all good and well, it doesn't tell people what they're going to create. See, people don't crave a challenge, right? Generally speaking.
Or change.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not like, oh, I really need to change my life. Right. Yeah. Or they do, but they're like, I want to lose weight and because I want XYZ, right? Mm-hmm. Even people who say, I want to lose weight, they don't want to lose weight. They want to be more confident. They want to like what they see in the mirror. They want to be a size 0. They want the end game. They don't want the work. They don't want the change. Okay. So what you have to understand is that you need to make a promise of some kind. And what we mean by that is what are you telling people they'll create as a result of going through the process? Okay, so if you're going to do a challenge on, let's say, weight loss, I wouldn't call it a weight loss challenge. I would call it drop a jean size in 5 days, right? Most people can actually do that, especially if you haven't done weight loss before, if you haven't been eating healthy. Generally speaking, the first week you go to lose weight, you drop a bunch of water weight. Some people lose the size, and it works, right? And a lot of people get caught up because they're like, well, I can't guarantee that to everybody, or I can't promise that to everybody. But for the average person going through your challenge, taking all the steps and doing all the work, what's something you can reasonably offer them? And if you start there, then you're no longer running a 5-day challenge. You're creating an experience.
Mm-hmm. And this is a very important step as well, because when I talk with my coaching clients, they say, well, day 1 is going to be about drinking water. Day 2 is going to be about exercising. Day 3 is going to be about X, Y, or Z. And it's so fragmented. So what you're really talking about here is not only creating a very specific outcome, but when you're going through the 5-day challenge, those days should be adding on top of each other so that outcome is more realistic to happen.
Yeah, we like to say compounding, but standalone. So basically, they should be able to take action on whatever day they show up. Maybe they miss day 2 or they miss day 4. They should still be able to do whatever you're having them do, but it should compound and create ongoing results.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So that's very important for everybody to hear. Is I find most people just want to give out as much information as they can, and the day, like day 1 is just packed with like 5 different changes. And then on top of that, day 2 is packed with another 5 changes. And that's not really the point of this. Is we want these people to every day feel like they're having one quick win that's very like possible, so that by the end, that down a jean size or down an inch or whatever the results are is easily attainable. And I would also stress that they have to be changes that people could logistically make essentially in a 24-hour period. So if you want someone to do like a massive kitchen clean out and then find all the 20 different ingredients from 5 different grocery stores, like that's also not going to be very successful. Right. So just be very, like it actually is more simple than I think we make it out to be. Now the Facebook Lives, a lot of people are going to be like, shit, like I am not going on camera. When would I schedule that in? I'm so afraid. What if nobody shows up to my lives? What do you say around that? Because video is just like, it's like public speaking to people. They'd rather die than do it sometimes.
Yeah. What I tell people is, number 1, live video is very forgiving. We tend to think that people are going to be hypercritical and be like, oh my gosh, this is whatever. But when you're doing a live video, people don't expect it to be perfect, right? Like this is a pre-recorded podcast. So there's some level of expectation that it's going to be like good, right? Because we pre-recorded it and we showed up and we prepared. But when you go on a live video, there's this expectation that people have that like, you're just showing up, right? You're showing up where you are naturally. I call it like forced authenticity, because you can't fake it on camera. You can't fake it for very long on camera. And so there's a much lower expectation that you like need to be perfect or polished, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is like, look, yes, it's intimidating. Yes, it's scary, but you when you do it, you get results. And I think that that's what we're after. All of us are after results. And so we have seen it time and time again where people are like, I don't know if I want to go live. I don't know if I want to go live. They do it. It's not the prettiest. It's not the best, but it works and it converts. And so if you're all about helping your clients and you're all about serving them to the highest of your ability, then you have to be willing to kind of put yourself out there and show up. Now, all that being said, can you do pre-recorded video? You can, but I'm going to argue that live video is just so much better because it builds that trust, it builds that connection, and it gives you the opportunity to like hang out with your people, answer questions, and show them that you're not this unreachable, ethereal being. You're a person who wants to connect with them just as much as they want to connect with you.
And let's talk about keeping up the momentum then throughout the challenge and not feeling defeated if that drop off starts to happen. So what do you do around that part?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is keep engaging with your community. So you build a Facebook community or a group as part of the challenge process. Continue to engage with them, ask them questions, encourage them to do the post, check in with them, tag people who have been active that maybe got quiet, right? Be willing to do the work. Like when we do a challenge, I actually block out 2 to 3 hours of my day because when we do a challenge, our goal is to get like 3,000 to 5,000 people registered. We did not start there. Our first challenge did not have 3,000 to 5,000 people, but that's our goal. And so when we actually go through the challenge, I carve out 2 to 3 hours of my day to literally go through and just comment and engage with everybody I possibly can. And so that really keeps the momentum going. And, you know, the thing is like, is it work? Yes. Does it take extra time? Yes. Are most people willing to do it? No. And that's where the magic is because most people aren't willing to do it.
And then one of the thoughts that I think people are probably thinking